श्रीमद् भागवतम की, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is entitled Dhruv Maharaj Leaves Home, and today we are on verse 81. Deva uchu naivam vidamo bhagavan pranarodham. Naivam vidamo bhagavan pranarodham. Characharasya khilo sattvadhamnaha. Characharasya khilo sattvadhamnaha. Videhi tanno vrajnad vimoksham. Videhi tanno vrajnad vimoksham. Praptva vayam tvam sharanam sharanyam. Prapta vayam tvam sharanam sharanyam. Deva uchu Naivam vidamo bhagavan pranarodham Chara charasya khila sattvadhamnaha Videhi tanno vrajanad vimoksham Praptavayam tvam sharanam sharanyam Deva uchu Naivam vidamo bhagavan pranarodham Characharasya khila sattvadhamnaha Videhi tanno vrajanad vimoksham Praptavayam tvam sharanam sharanyam Vaishnavis. Deva Uchu. All the demigods said, Na, not, Evam, thus, Vidamaha. Understand. Translation. The demigod said, Dear Lord, you are the refuge of... Since you are the ultimate shelter of surrendered souls, we have therefore approached you. Kindly save us from this danger. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj's influence, attained by executing devotional service unto the Lord, was felt even by the demigods, who had never before experienced such a situation. Because of Dhruva Maharaj controlling his breathing, the entire universal breathing process was choked. It is by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that material entities cannot breathe, whereas spiritual entities are able to breathe. Material entities are products of the Lord's external energy, whereas spiritual entities are products of the Lord's internal energy. The demigods approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the controller of both kinds of entities, in order to know why their breathing was choked. The Supreme Lord is the ultimate goal for the solution to all problems within this material world. In the spiritual world, there are no problems, but the material world is always problematic. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of both the material and the spiritual worlds, it is better to approach him in all problematic situations. Those who are devotees, therefore, have no problems in this material world. Vishwam Purna Sakhayate, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Devotees are free from all problems because they are fully surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For a devotee, everything in the world is very pleasing because he knows how to use everything in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are now coming towards the end of chapter 4. Dhruva Maharaj leaves home. It was a very long chapter and we are on the 81st verse. So tomorrow the chapter will end. So we are seeing in this section that Dhruva Maharaj's austerities are now going to come to an end. We are seeing the product of his austerity. So he was practicing a very severe bhakti yoga, or the process which Narad Muni, his Guru Maharaj, instructs him to practice. And one of the main lessons which many speakers have spoken about, we learn from Dhruva Maharaj's pastime, is how to do Tivra Bhakti, or how to do intense devotional service, and how it is definitely possible for a living entity by serious and intense devotional service to achieve the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he is just a child of 5 years, but through his intense devotional service, within 6 months of performing austerities and performing Ashtanga Yoga or Bhakti in the Bhakti Yoga process, now the Supreme Lord is going to give him darshan. So in the next chapter, in the 2nd verse, the Supreme Lord gives him darshan. So this is one of the main lessons we learn from Dhruva Maharaj's pastimes. How as practicing devotees, we also learn that we can also intensify our devotional service, and in that way we become more serious and we can definitely achieve. We can get rid of our anarthas. We can definitely achieve the lotus feet of the Lord. So in this particular purport, Prabhupada is mentioning a few points. So we are seeing how because of Dhruva Maharaj's austerities, the universal breathing process is choking up. And yesterday Prabhupada in the purport gave the example of an aeroplane. So Prabhupada said that when a person is sitting in the aeroplane, he is actually jointly carrying that force of the entire aeroplane, because he is also part of that aeroplane. So we see over here that Dhruv Maharaj has himself stopped his breathing from all the holes of his body. He has now gone to that stage of the practice of his devotional service. So he has stopped his breathing. But just because he stopped his breathing, the entire universe's breathing has stopped. And all the demigods have now started feeling very suffocated because they are not able to breathe. But we see one good thing about demigods, like sometimes, when we read in the Bhagavatam about what Lord Indra does, especially there are lots of examples of Lord Indra's pastimes, where he's stealing someone's sacrificial horse or where he's shown to be proud and all that. But one good quality which the demigods have is that whatever happens, they always go to the Supreme Lord for shelter. So the last 2-3 lines of this purport are very significant and instructive for practicing devotees. Prabhupada is saying that since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of both material and spiritual worlds, it is better to approach him in all problematic situations. So we know the famous verse which is there in the initial cantos of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Akama sarva kamova moksha kama udaridhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajjeta purusham param. So whether one is full of desires or whether akama, one is completely free from desires, or whether one is desiring moksha, which is liberation, please worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is the point which Srila Prabhupada is once again reiterating over here. So when we are in this material world, we all have material bodies. And we all are still in the conditioned state of life trying to become good devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is not that there are problems which are not going to come. Prabhupada says also over here, material world means it is problematic. There are padam padam yat vipadam na tesham. At every step, we will face problems. Not that because we have started chanting, we are now free from all problems. In fact, I remember one person was telling me that one devotee was trying to, preach to someone, and he was telling him, you start chanting and all your problems will go away. And the senior devotee who was listening to this, he chastised this person. He said, no, we never preach that by chanting all your problems will go away. Because if Krishna wants, he can actually increase the problems in your life. We never know what the Lord's plan is for you. And obviously, he gives problems based on the capacity of the devotee to take problems. But if we look at the Pandavas, they are all surrendered devotees of the Lord. They are highest devotees of the Lord. But there were so many problems in their life. So as Prabhupada says, this material world is problematic, and if the Lord wants, even after we are, practicing devotional life, if there are some problems which are to come, they will be coming. But one thing is there, that we always approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as practicing devotees also, if we are facing some problem, not that only for chanting and, for love of Godhead we approach the Supreme Lord, but at the back end we are doing some havan and yagyas or some pujas for some demigods because there is a problem going on in our life. For devotees, the shelter is only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whether it is for material problems or it is for spiritual solutions. We never go and approach any demigods for seeking, reprieve or seeking some relief from the problems that we are facing. And that is one very good quality which we can learn from the demigods. In the entire Bhagavatam, every canto there is some instance of pastime which happens where the demigods approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead only for shelter. And then the Supreme Lord pacifies them, gives them some solution. Like we see in the Samudra Manthan pastime, he is always there to help devotees when they surrender to him at every step. So we also know, Prabhupada is talking about, the last two words of this verse are Sharanam Sharanyam, that we are taking shelter of you, O Supreme Lord. You please help us. So we know that Prabhupada always talks about taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or surrendering ourselves to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even in our Bhaktivedanta class a few days ago, we were discussing the 6 symptoms of surrender. So we know the famous verse is there, Anukulyasa Sankalpa, Pratikulyasa Varjanam, Rakshaisyati Vishwaso, Goptrite Varanam Tatha, Karpanyad Atma Nikshepa, Sadvidhi Sharanagati. So there are 6 symptoms of surrender which are very important for devotees to understand. And we are seeing that Prabhupada is reiterating that point over here. Prabhupada is saying that devotees are free from all problems because they are fully surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So again, when we say free from all problems, not that problems will not be there in a devotee's life, but the devotee is completely he's completely stress-free because he knows that his shelter is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, in the Mahabharata, there is a pastime of Arjuna and Krishna. So, Duryodhan was seeing, the war was going on, and Duryodhan was seeing that Bhishma Devi, who was the commander of the war at that time, he was being a little relaxed. That's what Duryodhan felt. He felt that because the Pandavas are the favorite grandchildren of Bhishma Dev, he was not showing as much power or as much akrosh, like we say, aggression in his fighting against the Pandavas. And Duryodhan then went and taunted Bhishma Dev. And he actually, we say in Hindi, lalkarna, he challenged Bhishma Dev. He said that just because you love the Pandavas, you are not showing the actual aggression and power that you would have normally shown as a Kshatriya. So where is your integrity? You are fighting on my side, but you are not actually trying to annihilate the enemy's side. And we know, like Dhruv Maharaj himself is a Kshatriya. So when a Kshatriya is challenged, he cannot take that challenge. He cannot take an insult lying low. So Bhishma Dev takes a vow that tomorrow either I will live or the 5 Pandavas will live. And there was we say Tehelka mach gaya Hindi. So there was a big this thing which went on in the Pandavas camp that Bhishma Dev has taken that vow. And Krishna starts getting a little disturbed, or Krishna starts getting a little stressed. He's in anxiety now because Bhishma Dev has taken this vow. So he actually comes to Arjuna's camp and he sees that Arjuna is peacefully sleeping and snoring. So he wakes Arjuna up and he tells him that, did you hear that Bhishma Dev has taken this vow that tomorrow all of you all are going to be killed. Either he will survive or you all will survive. And Arjuna says, yes, I heard that. He said, then how can you sleep so peacefully? And that too you're snoring on top of it. So Arjuna says that when I have you as my protector, my Lord, what is there for me to worry about? He said, see, I am asleep, but you are in anxiety for me, no, to protect me. So he said, you are there to protect me, then what is the anxiety for me? And that is what Prabhupada is talking about over here. Prabhupada says that devotees are free from all problems because they are fully surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the 6 symptoms of surrender are Anukulyasya Sankalpa. Anukulyasya means accepting the things which are favorable for devotional service. And that is such a big part of devotees' practice in his devotional service, that we accept things which are favorable for a devotional life. Whether it in terms of the food that we eat, in terms of the job that we accept. For example, if a job is going on nicely, then a devotee does not unnecessarily try to change his situation. I remember Devamrit Maharaj was once mentioning in the class that if your job is going on nicely and that job is allowing you to practice your devotional service nicely, then don't unnecessarily disturb it just for some extra money. Because who knows, the new job that you take up, you might get a little bit extra salary. But it might not be favorable for your devotional service. You might get a boss who makes your life miserable, or there might be restructuring that might happen and you lose your job in few months. So why disturb a comfortable situation which Krishna has given, where you are able to do your job and practice your Krishna consciousness nicely? So Anukulyasya means accepting things which are favorable for devotional service. Food, job, even being regulated in our habits of sleeping, eating, drinking, everything. So we, at every stage in our life, we are making decisions to accept things only which are favorable for devotional service. And on the other hand, Pratikulyasa Varjanam, we are giving up things which are unfavorable for our devotional service. So again in our Bhaktivedanta class we were discussing, and Keshav Prabhu was saying that sometimes we are so attached to some things as devotees also that we are not ready to give them up. So it is, Pratikulyasa Varjanam means give up things which are holding you back in your Krishna consciousness. And in our devotional life, all of us, if we introspect, as practicing devotees, there must be something which is always coming up in our life, which is holding us from giving the best to Krishna. Whether it's multitasking while chanting, watching the phone, or doing something, or any other, not being able to get up on time, or having attraction to eating too much of prasadam. So there are so many things which hold us back in our Krishna consciousness, and they don't allow us to give our fullest extent to Krishna. So Pratikulyasa Varjanam means don't hold on to the thing. One of the things at least which you are very attached to and you like, give it up for Krishna. Do that austerity for Krishna. And then Rakshayisyati Vishwaso. So this quality means that you are completely confident that Krishna is your protector. And Goptritve Varanam Tatha. He is your protector and he is your maintainer. So Krishna is your only protector and maintainer, and he will protect you in every situation. And this Krishna is your only maintainer. We see, I was hearing a lecture, and there once Prabhuji was there. So he wanted to go for a yatra which was being organized. But he's a dentist, so he was very worried that if I go for the yatra, I'll have to close down my clinic for a few days. And then how will there is so much of loss of money that will be there if I have to close down my clinic. So we know dentists, they are dependent on the patients which come daily to their clinic. So he said that better I don't go because I can't afford to close down my clinic. I have to, look after my family, earn money and all that. So he took the decision of not going for the yatra. And he was later on saying that once the yatra had started, during those 5-6 days, there was not even a single patient which came to his clinic. So ultimately he realized that my income is not my maintainer. Krishna is my maintainer. So if I had surrendered and I had closed down this clinic and gone off, maybe there were 1 or 2 patients who might have visited, but there was not much that I would have lost. But I lost the golden opportunity of being in the yatra. So he was mentioning in a class, he said that I got this realization that my income is not my maintainer, it is Krishna who is my maintainer in life. And that is the quality which is being spoken about here, that Krishna is your only maintainer and Krishna is your protector. Like we see the demigods now going to Krishna and seeking his shelter for protection from this universal choking that is happening in the world. We see even Gajendra, we see example of so many devotees who seek Krishna's protection. Gajendra, Draupadi, all of them in their troubled times seek the protection of the Lord, and the Lord was there for them. And complete surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, surrendering your ego, and there is no one else but Krishna in your life. And Atma Nikshepa, the most sublime example of this particular aspect of Sharanagati is the gopis. They did not care about any social conventions. They did not care about what their family would say. They did not care about their husbands or anything like that. If Krishna would call them, they would give up everything and run to Krishna. And there is a very nice contrast. We are studying the Krishna kidnapping Rukmini pastime in our Bhaktivedanta course right now. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions over there in Sarartha Darshani that when actually Krishna kidnaps Rukmini and he has taken her on the chariot already, and Rukmini is very angry. Shishupal and everyone have given up. They tried to fight the Lord's army, but Lord Balaram was there and the Yadava army was there. They all defeated all the opposing soldiers. But Rukmini was feeling very angry that I had arranged this marriage of Rukmini with Shishupal, and how can this wicked cowherd boy come and take my sister away like this? So he actually pursues Krishna's chariot. And there is a fight that happens. He is shooting arrows, Krishna is shooting some arrows. Obviously the Lord was winning. And the Lord was about to kill Rukmini. He had smashed Rukmini's chariots, horses, all his bows, everything to pieces. And now Rukmini had taken a sword, which also the Lord smashed to pieces. And now he was about to kill Rukmini. And Rukmini's expressions are described over there, that she was stricken with fear, that this fight is happening between her brother and her beloved Lord. So she holds Lord Krishna's lotus feet and she begs him to spare her brother. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains over there that Rukmini, it was not so much out of affection for Rukmini, because she was seeing what Rukmini was doing, that he was a demoniac person who wasn't recognizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead's supremacy, and he's unnecessarily fighting. So it was not so much out of affection for Rukmini, but it was more out of public opinion, he writes. So he says that Rukmini had that little feeling in her heart that what will people say if they see that this sister was allowing her brother to be killed by her husband? What will people say about me? And that is why she requests Krishna to spare her brother. And we can see the contrast over here. The gopis had absolutely no consideration for public opinion. They had absolutely no consideration about what the society will say when they run to Krishna in the middle of the night. They had absolutely no consideration of what their family members, their husbands, their mothers-in-law, fathers-in-law will say. It is described when Krishna was playing the flute and inviting the gopis through his flute. The gopis, half of them were feeding their child, they left it half. Some of them were feeding their husband, in the middle they left it, and they all ran to Krishna. So no consideration at all for any society norms or any public opinion. And that is, Rukmini is also a pure devotee. We are not trying to show down anything over here, but that is the contrast. In contrast, we see that the gopis' love is much at a higher platform. And that is Atma Nikshepa, complete surrender. That Lord Krishna, I exist only for Lord Krishna. That is called as Atma Nikshepa. So see, these are the 6 symptoms of surrender, and Prabhupada is talking that devotees are fully surrendered unto the Lord, and therefore they are free from all problems. Whereas if we see, compare that to the non-devotees, we see the famous verse which is there, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakale Ashanti Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Atha Eva Shanta. So Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami. So a person who is desiring bhukti means sense gratification. Mukti, a person who is desiring liberation. Siddhis, a person who is desiring mystic perfections. Or Kami, a person who is very lusty. So we definitely see these types of people in the material world. I've written that I was working for 17 years, but now I don't have a job. So that's why I'm seeking, I'm homeless now and I'm not able to get a job only after I worked for 17 years. So what to do? Please give me some alms. So, I was wondering for 17 years if he worked, why didn't he save some money? But we are no one to comment. We don't know what happened in their life. But we see everywhere there is disturbance. People are always disturbed by what is going on in the material world. So they are all these non-devotees, Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami, they are all going to be always Ashanta because they are not taking shelter of the process of devotional service or of Krishna. But Krishna Bhakta Nishkama, Krishna Bhaktas are Nishkama, they are free from material desires, Atha Eva Shanta. And that is why they are completely peaceful. And we see even the demigods. We are not saying that Krishna Bhaktas means practicing devotees are not obviously free from all material desires. We have the example of the demigods. But because they are taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So tomorrow this verse will be discussed, which is the last verse of this chapter, where the Lord assures them that this is happening because of the severe austerities performed by the son of King Uttanapad. But y'all don't worry, y'all go home. I will take care of this boy and I will make him stop his austerities. So having received this assurance from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demigods all became peaceful and they went back to their own abodes. So that is why they become peaceful, because they are taking shelter continuously of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we see, if we look at our own lives, I can see that if devotional service would not have been there as part of my life, we would have been disturbed as the outside people. It is only devotional service which is maintaining the sanity of in this material world. Srila Prabhupada has written in many of his purports that this Krishna consciousness movement will save the world at its darkest hour. So Krishna consciousness movement, we are all practicing the path, we are on the practicing on the path of Krishna consciousness, and that is why we don't feel the stress and the onslaught which the material world gives us, because we have our fallback option, or we have Lord Krishna to surrender to and to take shelter of. So these are some of the points we see over here. And Prabhupada says that devotee is peaceful because he knows how to use everything in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. And we see examples of so many practicing devotees. They are using the talents that Krishna has given them in the service of the Lord. For example, again, taking the example of Devamrit Maharaj. Now, if he would have worked, he's from Yale University. If he would have been working, I'm sure he must have been the CEO of some company today, making millions of dollars. But he is utilizing his talent in the way that, can benefit the entire world of, power of speech, utilizing his university education to spread Krishna consciousness in a very modern way, which will appeal to the people of this world right now in Kali Yuga. We also see the example of, for example, Amrish Prabhu, who is the disciple of Srila Prabhupada, utilizing his wealth. He was here some days ago for the TOVP fundraising dinner. So he is utilizing his wealth. How many millions of dollars he has put into the TOVP. So that is what Prabhupada is saying, that if Krishna has given us something, it is very important we use it in his service. We should not be misers or kripanas in this particular thing, that we are not using our talents, or we are not using what Krishna has given in the devotional service of the Lord. And we see a very good example from Chaitanya Charitamrita of King Prataparudra. So King Prataparudra had the power, and he obviously he was the king of the state, so he had the power, but he was utilizing that power in the service of Lord Chaitanya. So he was not able to get darshan of Lord Chaitanya, even though he kept requesting. And then when he came to know that Ramanand Rai wants to fully surrender and completely spend his time in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's service, he immediately gave his permission. Ramanand Rai was employed in the king's court actually. But he immediately, King Prataprudra immediately gave permission. Not only he gave him permission, he said that while you are serving the Lord, you will receive full salary. So this is how, Ramanand Rai is utilizing his wealth or his power in service of, Prataprudra is utilizing his wealth and power in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And on the other hand, if we compare, there is King Vena, whose description is there in the Bhagavatam. He was a completely demoniac king, who was actually so much against the Vaishnava Brahmins who were there in his kingdom, completely against the Brahminical culture, Vedic culture. He had created havoc in his kingdom. So we see both these contrasting examples are there in the scriptures of how devotees know how to utilize whatever Krishna has given to them. And in that particular situation, we also see the example of Madhavendra Puri. So today actually there are two very auspicious occasions. One is Akshay Tritiya. In Melbourne today Akshay Tritiya is there. And also Chandan Yatra starts on Akshay Tritiya day. So we see the example of Madhavendra Puri. He installed the Gopal deity on top of Govardhan hill and he was worshipping him very nicely. And then Gopal deity told him that I had been underground, buried in the bushes for such a long time that I had felt so much heat, because in Vrindavan it does become very hot in summer. So my body is still burning from all those years of being buried in the bushes. So can you please smear my body with chandan? Now Madhavendra Puri wanted to again give whatever best he could in the service of Krishna. So and chandan was not very easily available. So he had to walk thousands of miles near Jagannath Puri to get some chandan from some hills, famous hills where chandan was grown. So he walks those thousands of miles to gather the chandan, and on the way the famous pastime of Gopinath happens where Gopinath steals kheer for him. So he had already become famous by the time he reaches Jagannath Puri. And the king helps him to get chandan and he helps him to start travelling back. Again he takes that arduous journey of travelling so many thousands of kilometers on foot to go back to Vrindavan and smear his Gopal deity with chandan. But on the way, again, Gopal deity appears in his dream once again and he tells him that offer all the chandan to Gopinath in Yamuna and I will feel the cooling, because Gopinath is an expansion of me only. So then Madhavendra Puri stops in Yamuna and he offers all the chandan and Gopinath deity is smeared completely with chandan. So the hot season or summer season is starting, especially in India. And that is why this Chandan Yatra starts. And the originator of this Chandan Yatra is Srila Madhavendra Puri, who walked thousands of miles. So on this day, in Gaudiya Vaishnava temples all over the world, kilos and kilos of chandan is made. And lots of devotees get engaged in this service. They are all, rubbing chandan for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And very nicely the deities are decorated, beautifully covered with chandan. And especially it's a pleasure to watch if we see the Mayapur deities darshan, Radha Madhav. It's such a pleasure to watch them during the Chandan Yatra. Such beautiful decorations they do after they apply chandan on the Lord's body. So this is how the Chandan Yatra festival started. It started with Gopalji instructing Madhavendra Puri to put chandan on him. We'll also spend the next 5 to 10 minutes speaking about Akshay Tritiya. So Akshay Tritiya, I received at least 10 WhatsApp messages on the importance of Akshay Tritiya between yesterday and today. But today it is in Melbourne and it's a very auspicious day. There are lots and lots of pastimes which happen on Akshay Tritiya. So we won't have time to cover all of them, but we'll cover a few. So a few significant things which happened on Akshay Tritiya was the Mother Ganges descended to earth on Akshay Tritiya day. So we know the pastime, like Lord Vamandev, he was trying to cover with his 3 steps, he was trying to cover all the planetary systems, taking everything away from Bali Maharaj. So with his toe, when he pierced the covering of the universe, Mother Ganga flowed down, the Viraja river flowed down from there in the form of Mother Ganga. So she first came in the heavenly planets and she was in the heavenly planets for some time and then she descended on the earthly planetary systems. So the day she descended on the earthly planetary systems, she did that on Akshay Tritiya. So today is the day when Mother Ganga descended on the earthly planetary systems. Today is also the birth of Lord Parasurama, the appearance day of Lord Parasurama, who is the 6th Lila avatar of the Lord. So we'll spend a few minutes speaking about Lord Parasurama, but today is the appearance day. It is also mentioned that Brahma began the creation today. So in the 3rd canto we saw that Lord Brahma was born on the lotus flower, but he was completely ignorant of what to do. So he gets the message, do tapasya, and he does tapasya. And after that the Lord reveals to him that he is his source and how he should do creation. So all the planetary systems were there, but Lord Brahma started creating the species from Akshaya Tritiya Day. And one of the major progenitors or the powerful progenitor was Kashyapa Muni. And Kashyapa Muni had various wives. He had Aditi, from whom all the demigods were born. Then there was Diti, from whom all the Daityas were born. There was Danu, from whom all the Danavas were born. Kadru, from whom all the snake species were born. Then he also had one more wife from whom Garuda and all the bird species were born. So this is how all the species started getting created on Akshaya Tritiya Day by Lord Brahma. The 4th important pastime which happened is Kuvera. So we all know who Kuvera is. He is the treasurer of the demigods. He is the maintainer of the wealth. He looks after the wealth of goddess Lakshmi and of all the demigods. So on this day of Akshaya Tritiya, Kuvera got the position of becoming the treasurer of the demigods. So it is mentioned that he had done lots of austerities to Lord Shiva. He was worshipping Lord Shiva, and then Lord Shiva blessed him with this position. He wanted some service, so he blessed him that you will become the treasurer of all the demigods. And that happened today. Kuvera got appointment as a treasurer on Akshaya Tritiya Day. Also goddess Annapurna, which is another form of Parvati, was born today. Then Badrinath and Kedarnath. We know the holy dhams of Badrinath and Kedarnath in India. So they are closed during winter, completely closed down because it's completely snowed over in Badrinath and Kedarnath. But on Akshaya Tritiya Day, the gates to Badrinath and Kedarnath temple open up so that people can start planning their yatras once again to Badrinath and Kedarnath. Also, the famous deity of Bake Bihari in Vrindavan. I'm sure all of us must have visited the temple when we go to Vrindavan. So usually Bake Bihari does not give darshan of his lotus feet. But on Akshaya Tritiya Day, he gives darshan. So the whole day darshan of Bake Bihari is visible to the devotees. And it is said that Vrindavan becomes so crowded because Bake Bihari is a very loud and popular deity in Vrindavan. So it becomes very crowded on this day because everyone is rushing to take darshan of Bake Bihari's lotus feet. So that also happens on Akshaya Tritiya Day. Also, we know about Lord Narsimha Dev in Simhachalan. So Lord Narsimha Dev has various forms. There is Ugra Narsimha, Shanta Narsimha. Like that, there are different forms of Narsimha Dev. In that way, one of the forms of Narsimha Dev is Varaha Narsimha. And this Varaha Narsimha deity is there in Simhachalam. And Varaha Narsimha deity, Lord Varaha Dev was already very angry when he appeared on this earth because he wanted to kill Hiranyaksha. So already he is angry. Narsimha Dev is also angry because he wanted to kill Hiranyakashipu. And imagine combined form of both. So it's anger personified, and all fires emanate because of this combination of these two deities. So it is mentioned that because he is such a ferocious deity, combination of Varaha Dev and Narsimha Dev, that if he is not pacified and cooled down, there will be fires all over the universe. Just because of that powerful anger and ferociousness which both this combination of the two deities have. So in Simhachalan, 364 days of the year, they keep this Varaha Narsimha deity covered completely in chandan. So every day they keep rubbing chandan and they keep applying it on this deity. So if anybody goes on a normal day to take darshan, they can just see like a mound of chandan. Because he has been covered for 364 days, every day they apply chandan on this deity to keep him cooled down and pacified. But it is mentioned on Akshaya Tritiya Day, we can have darshan of Varaha Narsimha in his original form. So all the chandan is taken off from Varaha Narsimha Dev, and on this day they do Abhishek, Aarti, Puja, everything is offered to the deity. So again, Simhachalan is very crowded on Akshaya Tritiya Day because you get to take darshan of Varaha Narsimha. But as soon as all this worship is over, they again cover up the deity with chandan because otherwise fires can happen around the universe. So this is also one more significance of Akshaya Tritiya. It is also said that Sudama went to visit Krishna in Dwarka on Akshaya Tritiya Day. Even Vyasadeva and Lord Ganesha started writing the Mahabharata on Akshaya Tritiya Day. So many significant things have happened on Akshaya Tritiya day. So we'll discuss a little bit about Lord Parasurama, because it is his appearance day today and he is one of the Shakti Avesha or Lila avatar of the Lord. So Parasurama, he had appeared in this world because the Kshatriyas or the ruling class at that time had become very corrupt. And the reason of Parashurama's descent was to take care of this ruling class, who had become completely adharmic. So the pastime is that the king Gadha had a very beautiful daughter called Satyavati, and he lays a condition that a very unique condition he lays: for anybody to marry my daughter Satyavati, they have to bring 1,000 horses which have, I think, one black ear or something like that. White horses which have one black ear. Now, who will be able to fulfill such a a requirement of King Gadha? So no one, Satyavati was very despondent because no one was coming forward to claim her hand. Where do you find 1,000 white horses with one black ear? So she was so despondent because her marriage was not taking place only. But then there was a very powerful sage called sage Rishika Muni, his name was. And he had that power to bring these horses and give it to King Gadha. So he does that. He gathers through his mystic powers, he collects 1,000 horses and he brings and offers them to King Gadha. And King Gadha is very happy and he gets his daughter married, Satyavati married to Rishika Muni. And the wife of King Gadha is also very happy that my daughter has got married to such a powerful Muni. So they are living very nicely, very powerful couple. And obviously, once the marriage happens, Satyavati gets a desire that we should have a child. So she goes and begs Rishika Muni that I want a child. And Rishika Muni says, okay, I am going to prepare a potion, a very powerful potion, and I'll give it to you. Once you drink that potion, you will become pregnant. So when Satyavati's mother, King Gadha's wife, hears about this, she also wants to have a child. And she realizes that Rishika Muni is very powerful, so he will be able to somehow bless me also to have a child. So she implores her daughter. She tells her daughter, you go and request your husband that please prepare a potion for my mother also. She also wants to have a child. So Rishika Muni agrees that, okay, mother-in-law's request has come, so I have to agree. So he prepares 2 powerful potions, one, and he tells Satyavati, give this one to your mother and this one you have. So Satyavati goes to her mother. Now the mother is telling Satyavati, she is saying that, I'm an old lady, I'm your mother-in-law, I'm your husband's mother-in-law. So I think the potion he must have prepared for me will not be of such high potency. So I want to drink your potion. And she pesters the daughter till the daughter had to give her potion to the mother. And she had to drink the potion which was prepared for the king's wife, King Gadha's wife, for her mother. But then she comes and confesses to Rishika Muni that my mother pressurized me, so we had to exchange the potions. And Rishika Muni becomes so angry with his wife Satyavati. He chastises her. He says, you foolish woman, the potion which I had prepared for your mother was actually to beget a very, very powerful Kshatriya child. And the potion I had prepared for you was to beget a powerful Brahmin child. Now you are going to get a powerful Kshatriya child. We actually wanted a Brahminical progeny. And this Kshatriya child will destroy everybody. So then Satyavati realizes her mistake. She falls at his feet and she says that you do something now. I have drank this potion, but I want a powerful Brahminical child. I don't want such a Kshatriya child who will go and destroy everybody. So then Rishika Muni says, but I cannot take this, the potion's power back. But if you want, I can make your grandson the powerful Kshatriya. So she says, yes, that is fine. Let my grandson be a powerful Kshatriya, but let me have a powerful Brahminical child. So then to Satyavati and Rishika Muni, Jamadagni was born. So Jamadagni is the father of King Parasurama. And Jamadagni gets married to Renuka. Renuka was his wife. And then both of them have a child who was the powerful Kshatriya, which Rishika Muni had predicted. And that is Parasurama. So there is a beautiful pastime about Lord Parasurama. So there was one king called Kartyavirya Arjuna who was ruling during Jamadagni's time. And because of his penances and austerities, he had got the blessing of having 1,000 arms. So imagine 500 arms on each side. So he had become so powerful because of that. And he did not know how to use these, the power of these 1,000 arms. So once he goes into a powerful river, and just by the strength of, spreading all his arms, he completely stops the flow of the river. And because he completely stops the flow of the river, it becomes like a dam. And on the other side, obviously, the river starts overflowing because the river doesn't have place to move forward. And on the other banks, King Ravana was actually camping with some of his wives and his associates. And because the river did not have any way to go, the banks of the river flooded completely. And Ravana's camp was completely destroyed. So Ravana becomes angry and he comes to fight. He comes to see who has done this. And he sees that this Kartyavirya Arjuna has stopped the flow of the river. So he challenges Kartyavirya Arjuna to a fight. And it is described that Kartyavirya Arjuna was so powerful that he tied Ravana with a rope and he was using him like a puppet. So, we all know how powerful Ravana was. But this is just giving us a comparison of Kartyavirya Arjuna's power. So like a puppet, like how in India in the earlier days, Madaris used to come. Madaris means people who bring monkeys. They would tie a rope around a monkey and they would bring them. And they would make, do that damru. And the monkey would dance according to the damru. That is what he actually made Ravana do. Kartyavirya Arjuna. On a rope he had tied and he was, with roaming, making him puppet around for him. So just to describe the strength of this Kartyavirya Arjuna. And once with his associates, with his whole army, he was passing through the forest. And they needed some rest and some food. So they come to Jamadagni's ashram. And seeing that the king of the land has come, Jamadagni gives him a very beautiful welcome. And he tells them that, "O king, you all go and take a bath in the river. In the meantime, I will prepare a nice feast for you and keep it ready." So the king was wondering how this Muni is going to feed this big army that I've come with. But still he goes for a bath in the river with his army. And by the time he comes back, he sees that Jamadagni has set up beautifully decorated tents and very nicely laid down tables with opulent feast. Plates have been laid down for everybody and an opulent feast is ready. And very lovingly Jamadagni feeds Kartyavirya Arjuna and all his associates. And to their fullest extent, he offers them an opulent feast. So Kartyavirya Arjuna, out of his curiosity, asked Jamadagni. He says that, "Where did you arrange this opulent feast?" So then Jamadagni says that, "I have this cow. It's a Kamadevanu cow or a wish-fulfilling cow. And whatever I ask the cow, she actually produces for me." And Kartyavirya Arjuna, he was a very envious king. So he says that such Kamadenu cow should belong to the king of the land, not to a Muni who is living in an ashram in the forest. So give this cow to me, I will take it away with me so that I can utilize her powers better. And Jamadagni was requesting him, "Don't do this, don't take the cow away." But by force, Kartyavirya Arjuna took the cow away to his kingdom. And that time Parasurama was not there, the son of Jamadagni, he wasn't there in the ashram. So when he comes back and he hears that the cow has been taken away by the king of the land, he immediately rushes behind Kartyavirya Arjuna. And he fights his whole army. He destroys all of them. He cuts off Kartyavirya Arjuna's head and he brings the cow back to Jamadagni. And he comes and tells Jamadagni, "See what I've done." So Jamadagni, because he was a Brahmin, he actually tells him, he says that when the king took the cow away, I actually forgave the king. Because that is the quality of a Brahmana. And he quotes the famous verse which is there in the 9th canto of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. He says, "Kshamaya rochate Lakshmi, Brahmi sauri yatha prabha, Shaminam asu bhagavams, tushyate hari ishvaraha." So he says that a Brahmin must cultivate the quality of forgiveness. Because that quality of forgiveness is illuminating like the sun and it is very pleasing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one of the topmost qualities of a Brahmana is that he has a very forgiving nature. But you have not displayed that. So you should go and do penances now. Go and on a Tirth Yatra or a pilgrimage and now atone for the sins. So Parasurama obeys his father and he goes on a pilgrimage and he atones for his sins. But in the meantime, Kartyavirya Arjuna's sons come to Jamadagni's ashram. And because Parasurama was away, they beheaded Jamadagni. They killed him. And Parasurama comes back and he realizes that his father has been killed. And his mother was crying piteously because her husband had been killed. So then at that time, Parasurama picks up his Parashu. Parashu means chopper. And he then goes to kill all the sons of Kartyavirya Arjuna. And it is mentioned that not only he kills all these adharmic sons of Kartyavirya Arjuna, but he then goes around the world and 21 times he kills all the Kshatriyas of the world. And it is said that there were 7 pools of blood, big ponds of blood that were formed from the blood that flowed out of these adharmic kings. He gets the entire world rid of all these Kshatriyas. He only does not touch those Kshatriyas who were performing some yajna, so who were actually engaged in some dharmic activity. He does not touch those ones. He also does not touch those who were actually getting married. So lots of Kshatriyas came to know that Parasurama is sparing those Kshatriyas who are getting married. So they all start arranging for their marriages, because then their lives will be spared. But otherwise he kills every other Kshatriya, adharmic Kshatriya of this world, and he rids the world of this ruling class. So these are some of the pastimes of Parasurama. And there was, now talking about a sweeter pastime. This was a very gory one. There was a very sweet pastime which happens in Vrindavan on Akshay Tritiya day. So Krishna was very small at that time, and he was playing around with his cowherd friends, and he sees that his father is very busy in preparing something. He's doing, packing his luggage. All the other servants are also helping him, and generally there's a very busy atmosphere in the house. So he goes and asks his mother. He pulls her sari and he asks her that what is father preparing for? Why is everyone so busy? And I can see that he's packing something. So is he planning to travel somewhere, Maya? And Yashoda Maya was also very busy, packing some things for Nanda Maharaj's voyage. So she tells Krishna that why are you troubling me, Lala? You go and ask your own father and go and ask him where he's going. So now Krishna runs on his little feet. He runs to Nanda Maharaj, and he then goes and asks Nanda Maharaj. He says that, Baba, what are you preparing for? Why are you packing all your luggage? Where are you planning to go? So Nanda Maharaj very lovingly takes Krishna on his lap, and he tells him that, I'm going to Prayag. So Krishna says, what is Prayag? So he says, Prayag is considered as Tirtharaj. Tirtharaj means it is the king of all the holy places. Because in Prayag there is confluence of many holy rivers, Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, and therefore once in a year people go there to just get rid of all their sins. They bathe in that confluence because it is considered the place which gets you rid of all the sins, and it is the king of all the holy places. So then Krishna requests his father. He says that, Father, why don't you just wait one more day and go tomorrow? So the Nanda Maharaj says that, why do you want me to go tomorrow? I am all prepared to travel today. So Krishna says, because tomorrow is Akshay Tritiya. See, it's an auspicious day to start something. So why don't you start tomorrow? So Nanda Maharaj always used to listen to Krishna. He used to give in to Krishna. We know during the Govardhan pastime also. Because Krishna used to speak so lovingly and convincingly. So Nanda Maharaj said, okay Lala, if that is your desire, I will wait and we will travel tomorrow. And then when Nanda Maharaj goes to sleep, in the middle of the night, he gets, it was almost early morning, he gets a dream. And in the dream, he sees that there is a very powerful looking personality in king's robes who is standing next to a pond. And it's like a sarovar in Vrindavan, and he's standing next to that sarovar, and that king is laughing loudly. So the king laughs loudly, then he was rolling in the dust, and then he was taking a dip in that sarovar. Again he would come out, he would laugh loudly, he would roll in the dust, and again he would take a dip in the sarovar. So in the dream, Nanda Maharaj asks this king, he says that, who are you and why are you rolling in the dust, taking a dip, rolling in the dust, taking a dip, what is going on? So the king says, that, oh, you didn't recognize me? I am actually Tirtharaj Prayag. I am the personification of Prayag. So Nanda Maharaj immediately becomes very respectful, and he falls at his feet. And he says, what are you doing here in Vrindavan? So he says that I am rolling in the dust of Vrindavan, and I am then taking a dip in this sarovar, which is Pavan Sarovar. So I am taking a dip here and I am rolling in the dust of Vrindavan. So he says, why are you doing this? Nanda Maharaj asks him. And the Tirthraj, personification of Prayag, tells him, he says that because so many times, like millions of people come and they want to wash their sins in my confluence, in my the confluence of the 3 rivers. So I become so saturated with people's sins, and where do I go to get rid of the sins? So that is why I come to the holy land of Vrindavan. and I roll myself in the dust of Vrindavan, because there is nothing more purifying than the dust of Vrindavan. And then I take a dip in this sarovar, which is Pavan Sarovar. Pavan Sarovar means something which purifies you. So he says that is why I am doing this. It is purifying me of the millions of sins which people have accumulated and washed them in my confluence. So then the dream breaks, and Nanda Maharaj, next day morning, Krishna goes to Nanda Maharaj. And he says, Father, today is Akshay Tritiya. Are you prepared to go? Please take me also with you to Prayag. And Nanda Maharaj says, no, I have decided not to travel. And Krishna says, why? He says, because he tells him about the dream. So he says that why do I have to travel thousands of kilometers and go somewhere else to wash away my sins or atone for my sins, when I am in the holy land of Vrindavan, where the dust is very purifying and this Pavan Sarovar is very purifying. So I'm going to go today on to Pavan Sarovar and I'm going to take a dip over there. And Krishna says, okay, Father, I'll also come with you. So this loving pastime happened on Akshay Tritiya day. So we'll end the class over here, and if there's any questions, comments or corrections.
Some question to the pastime of Parasurama. Why he didn't kill Kshatriya kings who were about to get married? What's the reason?
I did not read up on that, Prabhuji, but I am just assuming that... sorry? Okay. The question is why Parasurama did not kill the kings who were getting married. So for Kshatriyas, they are expected to be in the Grahastha Ashram. That is one thing. So it's not that, it's that marriage is the good thing to do and, Brahmachari should, we are not vouching for that. But Kshatriyas actually are expected to be Grahasthas because they are the ruling class. They have to have wives, then have children, make them into very able kings who will again rule the world and protect the citizens. So this is my understanding from this, is that, marriage is considered a very sacred ceremony. It is a Vedic ceremony. So again, he was sparing all those Kshatriyas who were adhering to performing sacrifices, which is also Vedic, and marriage also, which is a Vedic ceremony. And that is why he was not killing them. Because if these kings get married nicely and if they have good progeny, that will produce a better ruling class than these adharmic kings who are there. This is my understanding. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for this wonderful class. I was just wondering, you were mentioning in the beginning that from the Jewish pastime we can learn many things, and especially how we can achieve the mercy of the Lord by intensifying our devotional service. So then my question is how to intensify our devotional service, and even if we understand sometimes we don't have enthusiasm to do so, how can we gain enthusiasm to intensify our devotional service?
I didn't get the last part. So your first part of the question is how do we intensify our devotional service, and even if we do understand that we have to intensify our devotional service, then
how can we get enthusiasm to it?
Enthusiasm to intensify. So first, Prabhuji, this is my limited understanding again on this part. It is all by association. So it is, many Maharajas also say, and Prabhupada also writes, that one who wants to become a drunkard, he just has to go and associate with a drunkard for some time, and he'll definitely, that habit will rub on to him. In offices also, when we go to work in the city, we see that so many young people who come to work, most of the ladies and most of the men are smoking. And I was thinking that they must have developed this habit just because of association of somebody else who's smoking. Like, it's so injurious, it's written in such big, they all show, nowadays it's said that it is a requirement that smoking companies actually put the picture of the lungs, how it can damage, but still, it has no effect, like people are smoking. So, it is only by association that has happened. So, Prabhupada says that in the same way, when we want to become serious in a devotional life, we seek out that association. So, we see in the congregation someone who's very sincere and serious, or who's practicing devotional service very intensely. And in our own lives also, if we introspect, every devotee will have some strong areas and some areas where they need to work on in terms of their practices of devotional service. So some might be very good in their sadhana, very good in their chanting, reading, hearing. Some might be very good in their seva, in their practical services for the Lord. Some might be very good in their sadachar, in how they behave with other devotees. So we will always see that, in one area if a person is strong and we are lacking in that area, then we seek out the association of the devotee who's very strong in that area. So for example, I'm strong in my seva, I do lots of services, but I'm not very strong in my chanting, reading and hearing habits. Then I seek out association of someone who's very strong in that particular area and try to understand, dadati prati granati guhyam akhyati pachati. So we reveal our heart in devotional service and we also listen to someone who's revealing their heart. So those are the priti lakshanam, or loving exchanges between devotees. So we actually go and approach such a devotee, reveal our heart and understand from such devotees how their sadhana is good and how we can implement that in our life. Or we see someone who's very good in their behavior, and if we feel that is something I need to work on, then we again approach that devotee and understand. So by association, it always rubs on us. Like again, I was listening into a lecture and one Maharaj was mentioning that for Kali Yuga, actually the Yuga Dharma is not the Hare Krishna mantra. The Yuga Dharma is association of devotees. Because if you're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra but you don't have strong association of devotees, your proclivity to chant will slowly go away. You will give up chanting in some time. And we see that, the famous pastime of Bharat Maharaj is there in Bhagavatam. He was a devotee who was on the platform of bhava. But once Ramai Maharaj was saying that the mistake he did was he did not keep himself in association of devotees. And therefore there was no one to chastise him and correct him. If somebody was around him, they could have seen that, oh Bharat Maharaj, you are getting too attached to the deer. You need to little bit, pull back. There was no one around him to give him that instruction. So this Maharaj was saying in a lecture that the Yuga Dharma for Kali Yuga is actually association of devotees. Because if we keep ourselves in the association of devotees, chanting and following the path of Krishna consciousness will definitely come to us. So that is my understanding. Thank you.
You want to ask something, but I
Yes.
just...
Okay, Krishna.
First of all...
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much for a wonderful lecture. Such a nice preparation. Deepandu Prabhu took us to the place about that Prayag, and they gave a very nice feast, and such a lovely feast. I still remember so many beautiful items in that place, quite far from Vrindavan. And part of the answer to this Prabhuji, that if you become a good cook also, you can be a good student. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes, Krishna.
What is the story of King Vena?
King Vena was a very demoniac king. He was the son of Sunita. Sunita is considered death personified. So he had very bad qualities, and because of those bad qualities that he was not... A king is supposed to protect his citizens and especially protect Brahminical culture in the kingdom. But King Vena was doing the opposite of that. He was not allowing sacrifices to happen. He was actually against Brahminical culture. And everybody was just, he had done so many atrocities or so much, misery he was spreading that people were just running away from his kingdom. And then some of the Brahmins, strong Brahmins, get together and they actually kill King Vena. And then they churn his limbs, and from there King Prithu was born, who was a very good king. So this was done by all the Brahmins. This is the story of King Vena. Yes, Prabhuji.
We said that we should not preach that you chant Hare Krishna and all your problems will be solved. That's the wrong preaching. However, we can always say that chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Is there anything else we can say about chanting Hare Krishna?
Yeah, we can always tell them, like, especially, there are 4 types of people who approach Krishna. One who is in misery is one of the greatest, strongest segment, I would say, which approaches Lord Krishna, especially in Kali Yuga, people who are in misery. So they are seeking relief from their misery, and we don't promise that your miseries will go away because of the chanting of Hare Krishna. But we can always tell them that chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is going to give you the strength, the spiritual strength and the strength of the mind to face the problems. That is something which we can always say, because we see that happening. It gives us the spiritual strength to face the problems in a much better way. Like Jagatarini Mataji was saying once, and I've mentioned this before in my class also, that chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra or taking shelter of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam or any process of devotional service is like taking the elevator. So she was giving the example of a glass elevator. And she said when the glass elevator is on the ground floor, you can see all the cars, people, everything in their actual size. They look big. But she said as the elevator keeps traveling up, the cars, the people, everything starts becoming, tinier and tinier. And let's say you've gone on the 20th floor and you're still looking out of the glass elevator. Those things will just appear like dots on the street below. So she said that taking shelter of devotional service is like riding the glass elevator. That you are riding, your consciousness goes on such a nice high plane that the problems of world seem to be very small dots. So that is something we can always tell them about the Hare Krishna mantra. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes, Krishna?
Another question that in Bhagavad Gita 15.6, in the last sentence it is said, those who reach the Supreme Abode never return to this material world. Then why did we come to this material world?
This question is being asked by everybody, Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that those who reach the Supreme Abode, they never come back to the material world. So why are we over here? So it's like $1 million question which is being asked by all practicing devotees. To give you the answer in short, you have heard of the English proverb, once bitten, twice shy. So once if you, let's say you are trying to touch the fan and your mom tells you don't touch the fan, but you're not listening and you put your finger in the fan and your finger gets cut because the fan is rotating at a high speed. Next time will you put your finger in the fan? No, you learnt your lesson, no? So in the same way, we have all come over here in this material world. So, but once we go back to the spiritual world, we have learnt our lesson. We have learned how miserable the material world is, how many problems are there in the material world. So then once we go back over there, we don't come back because we have learned our lesson and we are strong to stay in the spiritual world. We don't want to leave the association of Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
But if you are already full of knowledge in the spiritual world, don't we know how bad it is in the world? Why do we have to go and experience? Because soul is already full of knowledge.
Prabhuji, there are lots of different aspects to this question which different sannyasis and Prabhupada has also explained. So one aspect is that we were never in the spiritual world. We were in the doorway of the spiritual world. And, we made the decision. Krishna gave us the choice. Do you want to come inside or do you want to enjoy in the material world? And we made a choice that we want to go and enjoy in the material world. So we are Tatastha Shakti, marginal potency of the Lord. And we always have this tendency to fall down. And that is why it's called marginal potency. So we have a tendency to rise up, we have a tendency to fall down as well. And we chose to come to the material world. Another explanation is that we were always in the spiritual world. But for a moment, like, when a father is driving a car and the son looks at the father driving the car and he gets this desire that I also want to drive the car. So getting that desire that I also want to drive the car is not wrong. So in the same way, when we were in the spiritual world, we saw Krishna enjoying, and for a moment, fraction of a second, we got that feeling that, oh, what if I can also, enjoy like he's enjoying. And in that fraction of a second, we go through, Krishna makes us go through millions of lifetimes in this world till we realize that, no, I want to be back in the spiritual world in the service of Krishna. So there are different explanations that are given about this. Thank you, Prabhuji. I think we'll end the class here. Grantraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.